Hi, today we're going to talk about the staff. The staff is a musical symbol upon which notes are drawn, and it is the symbol that determines how high or how low, which is called pitch, the notes are. So each staff consists of 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each staff also consists of spaces. They are those spots between those lines. Now, a lot of times kids get confused and think that this right here is a line, because in school we're taught to write our name in a line or answer the questions in the name in the line. And that's this little spot right here. However, in a staff, in a musical sense, this is considered a space, and the space is actually a pitch. And we can't skip the lines or the spaces, so it's like line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space. And if the staff were to continue on, it would be the same thing, line, space, line, space. So let's draw out the numbers. So as you can see, we have each line is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each space is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. Now each one of these spaces and lines refer to a key on the piano. They also refer to a pitch in our voice, what pitch we need to sing, or if you play the guitar, what fret it is. If you play another instrument, it'll determine where you place your finger, what keys you hold down, or what string you're playing, that kind of thing. So each one of these lines and spaces refer to a key on a musical instrument. Now, there are obviously more than just these amount of pitches. And so, for example, we have higher pitches and we have lower pitches. So this right here defines the higher pitches, and it's called a treble clef. And this over here is called a bass clef. Now these help determine how high or how low. It also gives us a baseline so we can figure out what notes we are supposed to be singing. So let's talk about the treble clef for just a minute. The treble clef, if you look at it, if you were to just circle around here and just look at this line, it looks like a G. If we were just to get rid of this little swoop like this, it would be a G. Now notice that there's like a little crosshairs right here. Now this crosshairs is made because of this second line. Well, this second line goes right in the middle of that swirl on that G. This is because this is called the G clef. And the reason why is because this line right here is the G, is a G. So by having it go through there, we know that this line is G. And that can help us understand that the next pitch would be the next letter in the musical alphabet, which is A, and it would be up here on this space. And then it would continue on all the way up until it reached to the top. Let's see. So here's A. What do you think this line is going to be? If you said B, you're correct. How about the next one? If you said C, you're correct. Now, we get all the way to the very end, and some of you are thinking, well, that's the end and we're done. But in all reality, there are a lot more notes. Probably on the piano, there I think are at least another 24, maybe less. There are quite a few more notes. So what do we do about the notes that exist after here? And that is something called a ledger line. So a ledger line is placed, and it's just a short little tiny extension of the staff. And we place it just above, try to evenly space it so it looks like it's a continuation of the staff, just above that last line. And then a note can go on it. And that would be the next note, which is A. And if we were to continue on, The next note would be a B, and it would be in the space, so it would just sit on top of that line right there. So that is what we call ledger lines, and that's how we can make this staff extended so that we can get all of the pitches. Now that we've talked about the treble clef, let's talk about the bass clef. So the bass clef, the interesting thing about the bass clef, if you were to just draw a straight line here and extend and draw a straight line here, you could see that it could form an F. Now, see this fourth line here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes all the way across in between these two dots. So this dot here and this dot here define this line right here. Does anybody know what line it defines? If you said F, you are correct. So this is the F line, and it goes right in between those two dots, and that it has to be exactly like that. If those dots are placed lower or just sloppily put wherever you want, it does not equal a bass clef. It's very specific on where those dots have to go. So knowing what we know about the treble clef, can you predict what the bass clef would be like? So what would come next? Obviously we have our space is next. So what comes after F? If you said G, you are correct. And then A. And then we would want to know what comes before F, which is E. What comes before that is D, C, B, A, G. Now, as you can imagine, we ran out of space here, so we can put the F down here, and then we would put another ledger line and draw a note on that ledger line and continue on to the lower notes. Now, above, we could do the same thing. We could put this one right here, and it would be a B, and then we could put something above it, a ledger line above it, and it would be a C. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is when we combine both the treble clef and the bass clef together. So let's take a look at that. Notice we have 11 lines here. And can anybody just tell me which one's the F one and which one's the G? We have no treble and no bass to give us any kind of indication as to where G is or where F is. And so, you know, it can be a little bit confusing. Not to mention, it just continues on and on and on. And this is what it would look like if we were to draw a staff for all of the notes instead of using ledger lines. So let's take and eliminate this line right here, this sixth line that's right in the middle of these 5 and these 5. Let's eliminate that. Okay, and now let's draw our treble clef and our bass clef. Okay, so now we know this one is G and we know this one is F. Now, between these two clefs, there was that line that we erased. Well, that line is actually a specific note. Does anybody know what that is? If you do, great. If you said C, you are correct. So, C is actually the middle of the staff. It's the middle of the clef. That is why it's called middle C. Not because it's in the middle of the piano, which most people probably have taught you or what you might have thunk. This is actually middle C because it's in the middle of the treble clef and the bass clef. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you how it connects from all the way down here all the way to the top. And you'll see that C fits perfectly in line. So, this is middle C. And I'm going to show you how it fits. Okay, so in order to officially make this a grand staff, I have to connect the two staves together by drawing a line on the outside of it. So I'm just going to hurry and draw this line. And also, it has to have what we call a brace. Now I'm going to try to draw a brace right here. And I'm not using a pen, so I'm using my mouse. It doesn't look very good. Okay, so this is a brace, and this is the line that connects the two clefs together, and this is called a grand staff. Now let's put on our pitches. We're going to start down here at the bottom and work our way to the top, and you'll see how that works together. So we have F, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so what comes next? My computer's a little slow. G. Then we have our first ledger line, which is going to be A. And then on top of that, B. So this is what all the notes would look like. And this is only a small portion of the notes that exist on the piano and in pitch-wise. So this gives you a good basis of how these pitches are all connected. So in review, here's our bass clef, here's our treble clef, here's middle C, our 2 staves that consist of 5 lives and 4 spaces, and all the pitches that go in between. Hope you enjoyed it.